Well, once again, my name is Nob. Well, this part of the second part of the Jesus thing has to do. The first one was whether Jesus was historical or not. Well, the conclusion was there's really no history to prove that. You know, it's really, if you want to believe that he did exist, it's just going to have to be your faith. But there's really no historical evidence at all to prove that. The second part now. What about the biblical evidence now? I mean, now you have people that believe in him, that really believe that the Bible, before he was born, the Bible mentioned him. When I say the Bible, I mean the Tanach, I mean the so-called Old Testaments. In other words, the books that were written before he was born, not the New Testament. Obviously, the New Testament will say, yeah, this guy, he was born, and then it was prophesied that he was going to be born because they believe in that religion. But now, we got to go into books before him now to see that any books in the Bible, any scriptures, any verses from Genesis to Malachi, any authentic books, did any authentic prophets write about that guy? So since he's a New Testament guy, I guess it's fair to start with the New Testament, because when you read in the book of Colossians, first chapter, verse 26, it says, even the mystery has been hid for generations and ages. Now, these mysteries, well, not even mysteries, mystery is made known now to the saints. Now the Most High is showing, So all this time, it was a mystery, about Jesus throughout the whole so-called Old Testament or the Tanakh. Now all of a sudden, wow, the eyes were open to see it. So if that was a mystery that was hid, obviously, to me, that's saying those people in the Old Testament, in the so-called Old Testament, could have known about Jesus. They could have write about Jesus. But it makes it seem like since it was a mystery, I mean, as they were writing things, they don't understand they were writing about Jesus. But somehow they wrote about him by accident because they weren't supposed to know. It was a mystery. So now, that's what Colossians says. That's how it starts without some mystery. Nobody knew. A mystery means it's unknown. So now we can start in the New Testament with his genealogy, his beginning, his origin. When you go to Matthew, the first chapter, that gives you his genealogy, trying to trace him all the way back from Adam. All the way back from Adam to his birth. So let's analyze his genealogy for a reason, for an example. Now, I'm gonna go to Matthew. In fact, I have Matthew here. Matthew, the first chapter. It says the genealogy of Jesus. Genealogy of Jesus. So as you read on from first verse, it's giving you names. Actually, it took him all the way back from Abraham. I wonder why. Why I didn't start with Adam. I think Luke started with Adam, but that's not the topic now. Matthew. So from Abraham, gives you a bunch of names. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and all the way down, all the way down. And then David, King Solomon, Rehoboam, as you read on, until it goes all the way down to verse 12. And it says, now I'm talking about Josiah. Josiah, the father of Jeconiah and his brothers. So now, a lot of people who are not familiar with the Old Testament, they're going to read this and like, yeah, I agree, Josiah. But one thing a lot of people don't know, when you get to Josiah now in the genealogy, there were only 4 kings after Josiah. 4 kings, and after this, that was it. No more kings. And the last king, which was Josiah's son, because Josiah had 4 sons. One son, Johanan, whatever his name was, him, they said nothing about him, as if this guy never existed. It's just that he was the son of Josiah. And then it went to three of his sons. Those 3, they were all 3 kings, and one of them had a son, which would make him Josiah's grandson. That was the 4th king. Well, actually, it was the 3rd king. So Josiah's 3 sons were kings, and then one of his 3 sons' son was also a king. So those were the last 4 kings in the kingdom of the people of the Bible, period. After this, there were no more kings. The whole king stuff were done. The last king took for the people that fought against the nation of Israel. At that time, that was the kingdom of Judah. They make sure the last king was the last king, because what they did, when you read Jeremiah, the 22nd chapter, and also 2nd King, in the book of 2nd King, the 25th chapter, you can start by 24th chapter, and then 25th, especially verse 7, 2nd King, or 2nd Kings, the 25th chapter in verse 7, it tells you that king, Nebuchadnezzar, he was a Babylonian king, to make sure that whole Judah kingdom thing was done, the whole no more kings, he brought all the king's sons in front of him. And that Judite king, his name was Zedekiah. That was the last Judite king. You can read, like I said, in the 2nd Kings and also Jeremiah 22nd. He brought the king's sons right in front of him. And he killed all of them in front of him. He didn't leave not even one son. And then after he did that, he plucked out his eyes. He blinded him, removed both of his eyes. So that's to make sure the kingdom of Judah was totally done. So now when you read Jesus' genealogy, you see when he gets to Josiah, I believe in verse 12, 11 and 12, it says Josiah was the father of Jeconiah and his brothers. Well, that's a lie. That's how I know the people who wrote the New Testaments, they read the New Testaments and they went in there, they took some verses and totally twisted it and put it in their book, like the guy Matthew. Who the hell was Matthew? There's no proof that this guy ever even existed. So when you analyze everything, almost all the scriptures you see in the New Testaments, every scriptures they claim they got from the so-called Old Testaments, and they try to break it down, they were wrong on all of them. So now, and I'm saying this, I mean, just in case there's a Christian or real a pastor, you know, who never heard that before, what I just said, he can go for himself and check it out to see whether I'm telling the truth. The last king of Judah was murdered by Nebuchadnezzar, and all his sons were murdered right in front of him when he had two eyes to see, and then his eyes were plucked out, and then they put him in jail. Whatever they did, what they did to Toussaint Louverture to him, I guess, put him in jail, and well, actually, Toussaint totally died after that. Well, all of his sons were murdered. Eventually, at the end of the story, because at the end of the story, at the end of Second Kings, then they said, "Oh, well, Nebuchadnezzar let him out of jail, and then give him a salary, and then he died." So let me correct this. So he wasn't murdered. His sons were murdered, but he was put in jail with both of his eyes taken out. So which means if the last king, all his sons were killed, why would there be a such thing as genealogy of Jesus? Because genealogy means you tracing him back to his father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather, and all the way to Abraham. So that right there already shows you the kind of game the so-called New Testament is playing. They are so ambiguous on how they write their stories. They in one hand they make it look like, well, this guy had a physical father, Joseph, so they're gonna give him a genealogy. They're gonna give him a genealogy to try to trace him back to make him a heir of King David's throne. And then on the other hand, they're gonna write it so crazy where it looks like, no, he didn't have a father. Joseph was not his father. You know, Joseph was just his stepfather. You know, then that would disqualify him from being from having, first of all, from even having a nationality, because you have to be traced to your father, not your mother, according to the Bible. The Bible followed genealogies with fathers, never gave you this woman was the daughter of this other woman, was the daughter of that other woman, was the daughter. The Bible doesn't do that. Even the New Testament that has a bunch of lies still knows better not to do that. So Jesus' genealogy was given for a reason, to trace himself back through a man, his father, Joseph. But at the same time, it's going to be written in a way, have people confused, you know, and Joseph, well, the genealogy, the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise, you know, as for his father Joseph, before they came together, you know, his fiancee Mary was found with the child of the Holy Spirit. You know, then you read this like, okay, what do you mean it was found with child of the Holy Spirit? Does that mean the Holy Spirit got her pregnant? You know, well, some Christian gonna say, yes, that's what this means. It looks like that's what he's saying, and then they're gonna give him a genealogy, trying to trace him back to King David, and then other Christians be like, you know, you have Christians, regular Christian, and you have Christianites, you know, meaning Israelites who are Christians, but they don't like to be called Christians. They're gonna be quick to say, well, we are Israelites, we're not Christians. Of course you're Christian. If you follow Jesus, you follow the New Testament, that makes you a Christian. The word Christian came in, you know, in history, in the books that you follow, the New Testaments. How are you not a Christian? No, you're just a Christianite. You know, so Joseph, being a just man, you know, was minded to put her away privately. You know, Joseph, who was supposedly a just man, knowing the law, like, okay, this woman, what's going on here? You know, supposedly, what's going on? She's pregnant. You know, but if she's pregnant, you did it. You know, you did it. Who did it? Well, a ghost did it. You know, So on one hand, it looks like a ghost did it. Then on the other hand, the ghost didn't do it, but Joseph was worried that she was pregnant. Well, you did it. If you didn't do it, then why are you so worried if a ghost did it? So now your fiance that you gonna live with got pregnant, and then you're wondering what happened. That's some bugged out story. So he was minded to put her away privily. Okay, why would you want to put her away privately? You didn't do it. You didn't do the crime. If you really didn't do it, but the other Christians that believe that you did it. So if you did it, why you wanna put her away? If you're a just man, you cannot just get a woman pregnant and just say you gotta go. So that's a wicked man. So anyway, you look at that story. The serpent did a good job writing this story. The serpent from Genesis, and it's just like Jesus said, "Be wise as a serpent." That serpent got a lot of wisdom. He wrote that story to create confusion and arguments and all type of crazy thing going on. While once a group saying, "No, this is what's happening here," the other group, "No," then fights. He's a mastermind. Whoever wrote Genesis, well, obviously was inspired by the serpents. So, but while he thought on these things, then an angel came to talk to him, and to make things worse, they even knew the name of the angel. When you analyze the Tanach, the so-called Old Testaments, we're not supposed to know names of angels. Every time somebody in the Old Testament asks an angel, so-called angel, messenger, "What is your name?" Like Jacob, say, "No, I cannot tell you my name." Oh, well, before Samson was born, his parents like, "Yo, what is your name?" "Well, I cannot tell you my name." But now you're in a book in the New Testament, they have names for Michael, Gabriel. They have it sounds that's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle guys. All those names are there. Somehow those angels must have told them their names, when angels don't give their names. So that's another thing. I'm like, oh, you can put that story in garbage again. And then somebody gonna say, well, if we're not supposed to know the names, what about the book of Daniel? Well, guess what? The book of Daniel can also go in the garbage. Because again, because a group of people came, they took a bunch of books that were written back then and put them together, doesn't mean they're all true. So once a book, even in the Old Testament, once any book starts saying some crazy stuff, things that obviously against the tradition, the culture, the law of the Tanakh, whatever it is, that's another garbage book. So that book can go in the same place where Matthew, Mark, John, Luke, and the others can go, in garbage. So now let's get back to the genealogy of Jesus. Then when you get back to Josiah, and then it says Josiah was the father of Jeconiah and his brothers. Well, guess what? When you go back to the book of Chronicles, that gives you, the name of the fathers and then the son. Jeconiah was not the son. Jeconiah was not the son of one of the sons of Josiah. The 4 sons Josiah had, like I said, Shalom is one. Jerokim is another one. Jerokim was the father of Jehoiachin, and Jehoiachin, that's Jeconiah. So You had Shalom, Jerokim, you had Zedekiah, and you have that Johan guy, Johanan guy. You know, so those were the four sons of Josiah. So obviously Matthew, the first chapter, genealogy of Jesus, whoever wrote that part was smoking something. You know, I think this is my belief. This is my belief. When they read the Old Testament, the Tanach, where the last king of Judah, all his sons were killed in 2 Kings 25:7, right in front of the father's eyes, they had to start making up stuff to trace, to give Jesus a genealogy. Although, if you're trying to push the narrative of a woman was just pregnant and the men didn't do anything, you didn't have to do that. That's because they wanted it to be so ambiguous to create confusion. So on one hand, they're trying to insinuate that, okay, he probably had a father. Then you're gonna have a group that say, okay, Joseph was the father. On the other hand, they had to write in a way, well, he didn't have a father. So they had to make up stuff in the genealogy. So for the group who believe in that garbage, at least they blindly, they say, well, that was his genealogy, without really comparing, like, okay, what's going on here? Jeconiah, who's this guy? That's not Josiah's son. So how come in Matthew saying it's Josiah's son? Now you see why in the New Testament you had Christians back then who find it reasonable, who found it important to say, well, let's stay away from genealogies, because they obviously some people were really reading the genealogy and say, oh no, there's something wrong here, and say, oh, don't worry about genealogies. Let's avoid genealogies. Of course you're gonna say this because you see, oh wow, somebody made a mistake here, and then when you go on from in that same genealogy, in Matthew, it's gonna jump from Josiah to Jeconiah, and then it's gonna say Jeconiah's son was Shealtiel, and then after that, Shealtiel, which is one of the sons he had, true. And then from Shealtiel, it's gonna jump and say Shealtiel's son now was Zerubbabel. That's another lie again. Go back to Chronicles and see if that's true. That is not true. That is definitely not true. So you see how those writers, well, I'm not going to say they were just ignorant. They didn't know what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew they were concocting some type of lie to create some religions, and they had to write things to try to. They were hoping that nobody gonna check them and see whether they were telling the truth or not. Because most people, they don't read the Bible, and when they do, they don't read it critically like this. They wait to hear what their pastors, their priests gonna tell them every day, spoon feed them something, and they go home and say, oh yeah, that was a good sermon. You know, the pastor was had a good sermon. You know, everything was good. That's what religions do. Religion is like drugs. You have the drug dealers, the pastors, the priests, the people who call themselves bishops, bishop this, deacons that. Those are the drug dealers. Those are the pimps. And then you got the crackheads inside the church, inside the mosque, inside the voodoo temple, inside of any of those religions. You got the crackheads now waiting for the crack. And the whole 6 days, I mean, now I'm talking about the ones who go to church on Sundays. The whole 6 days, they do their wickedness, whatever it is. And then on Sunday, they go to a pimp, their pastors, to lie to them and tell them smooth words to make them feel good. Say, oh, don't worry about it. Everything you did the week, that's okay. But Sunday, you're good. You got Jesus. You saved by this guy. All you got to do, I'm going to give you a piece of food, bread. Just think of it as his body that died for you. And then I'm going to give you a little wine, a little grape juice. And think of it as the blood that shed for you. And then nobody is saying to themselves, oh, wow, I'm eating something. I have to think that it's somebody's body. Okay, what's the difference between this and being a cannibal? What's the difference between that and being and cannibalism? Well, it's not physical. You know, you're not eating it like you're not eating a real body. But I'm eating the body symbolically, though. So you mean to tell me, if I go to a church, they pass me a dildo, they say, let's pretend, that's a penis, but it's not a real penis. Just everybody suck, everybody lick, everybody do a little licky, and then nobody say, well, I don't know about that, man. Listen, if I'm not gay, I'm married with children. I don't think I want to do the licky, because if I'm licking something and I'm doing I'm sucking something symbolically, I'm like, nah, that's not happening. But if you into gay thing, I guess that's okay, because you do it physically. So if you're a cannibal, if you're into a religion that eats people, like there's I'm sure there's still a bunch out there. They just do it in the closet where they actually kill people and eat it, But if you're into a religion that's into that, I guess that's okay. But if you're not into a religion that believes in cannibalism, how is it that you get a pimp, a pastor, a priest, a drug dealer? When I say drug dealer, I don't mean drug dealers selling. I mean the pastors, because they bring drugs to the people. How you get this guy to convince you that it's okay to do the licky with a fake penis, and then you're not gay? Like, oh, it's okay to eat something that represents a body, but you're not a cannibal. When the word cannibal really means priest of Baal. Cannibal. People who understand a little bit of Hebrew, you can see where the Kohen, that's where Kanai is still the same word. I don't care how you say it, it's still priest and Baal. Why cannibals had to do with priests of Baal? Because priests of Baal, they really believe in eating people's body, and it was okay. But when you read the Tanach, when the Mosai asked Abraham just to test him, like, okay, you're gonna sacrifice your son for me, Abraham said yes, and the Mosai makes sure, like, no, I was only testing you. We don't do things like this. We're not cannibals, and I don't eat people. So no, you weren't really gonna sacrifice Isaac for me. I was just testing you to see how much you really want to follow me. So the Tanakh, the first book of the Bible, so-called Bible, started with the Mosai showing you, look, I don't believe in people eating people. In fact, he even put it in the laws. Say, look, anybody that killed people and sacrificed them, like they were doing back then, sacrifice their firstborn son, their firstborn, like they did to Jesus, you're cursed, you're doomed, you need death. That's what the law says. So Christianity, it's really the serpent getting people to go against that law, getting people to tell the Most High, well, I know it's in your law, we're not supposed to eat people. Well, we're gonna eat this guy symbolically. And we're going to say it's your son too. Although supposedly he had a father, but he had a mother. So now his birth started with for those who believe that Mary got pregnant by the ghost, that would be adultery. Everything about Christianity is like gross. That would be adultery. Now you got a ghost that got a woman pregnant. So, and then to make things worse, all the food the Most High said, you couldn't eat, don't eat. Then they got a guy named Paul who was writing things like a serpent way, crazy way. You know, in a way where some people say, well, I guess we can eat those things. And some of us are doing it. And then some will say, no, that's not what Paul was talking about. We're not supposed to eat pork. We're not supposed to eat shrimp. When the guy that supposedly Paul saw in the sky, Jesus, that guy, when you read the way he lived, he didn't look like he was breaking these laws. Well, whoever wrote the story, they wrote it in a way where, look, this guy, he's not breaking any laws. He's when somebody was had some evil spirits in him, he took this evil spirit and threw it to a bunch of pigs, and that one and killed themselves. Well, at that point, he broke the law. Now all the pigs, you drop that thing on them. Although a pig is not supposed to be eaten according to the law, but you're not supposed to just kill the pig. So if he didn't do any sin, at least that one was a sin. You took a bunch of evil spirits from this guy and threw it to a bunch of pigs that ran to the water violently and killed themselves. Well, that's murder right there. You kill a bunch of pigs for no reason. You're not supposed to kill no animal just to kill an animal. There's got to be a reason. That right there was murder. So everything about Christianity is like, I mean, for those who's using their critical thinking, they may understand what I'm saying. But for those who are drunk into the religion, and that's their religion, that's what they were raised like this. They love it. That's how they're gonna go to heaven. That's how all those, a lot of things like, if a man slap you, take another slap. Like what? Who would do this? What kind of stuff? What kind of like people say, what kind of time was that guy? He was the wrong type of time. Like what was he pushing? He was pushing everything to get people to get killed. Everything, especially I remember the story when they came to him. They said, okay, well, in your world, what's gonna happen to this woman? Let me give you this example. This woman, she had a husband and he died. Then she got married again the second time. Then the second husband died. Then a third husband came. Then he died. And until like 7 of them. Well, which is, after 2 or 3, the others should have stayed away. Okay, every time you got a husband, you keep outliving your husbands. I'm the 7th one. I'll be like, what, 7th? I'm out. So now they ask him, okay, Jesus, genius, in your world, whose wife is she gonna be among those 7? Because let's say they're all 7 Christians, and they're all in your world now. Now you got this woman all by herself. How's this going to work? How is this going to work? Genius, let me know. And then Jesus thought about it. I'm sure he said, wow, that's a good one. I never thought of this. I remember when I asked, so-called teachers, they used to teach the Bible, when I was a follower, when I was a student. I remember when I asked, you see those Israelites called IUIC, that dude named Nathaniel. I remember the day, when he was teaching, and then, damn, that's like since 1990 something, 96, 97. That's like a long time ago. I'm like, yo, genius. I remember him. He's doing the class, and he had another teacher next to him. They were both Gadites. One a skinny Gadite. Well, they call them, North American Indians. Although they both look like niggas. Okay, you two geniuses. Okay, I was reading this. They asked Jesus that thing, but I didn't really understand the answer. So, what's going on with this? What's going on with Jesus' answer? And Jesus thought about it and said, okay, this is the answer for you guys. Ha ha ha. You guys trying to be funny? Jesus said, well, guess what? The children of this world, they marry and are given into marriages. But those that shall be accounted for that world, they don't marry, nor are given into marriages. For they are like angels. They're like, they like angels. They don't marry. What is it, a bunch of gay dudes? I mean, dudes who just don't marry. Like, listen. So that, when I asked them that, yeah, they got hit hard. I still remember that day. I'm still laughing about that day. And they're like, they're trying to give an answer. Trying to, break down what Jesus said. Although it's straight up garbage, because when you read the Tanach, it says, the Most High, the promise was to bring us back to the land, bring the Israelites back to the land so they could continue life. Like living, like having wives and children and everything, living still on earth, eating and everything. They messed up since 2,500 years ago still now. All they had to do is say, my bad, and then the Most High would put them back in the land, and then they'll live again. Like there will be people on earth. That's the Old Testament. It never says, there will be no marriages. They're not going to be given in marriages because they are equal to angels. What kind of BS? Jesus was smoking something. So when I asked them that, they say, oh, well, we don't know the answer. I'm like, wow, okay. We're going to fast and pray. We'll be back. I'm like, yeah, I couldn't wait. It reminds me of when I was little in Haiti, because I'm from Haiti. When there was a room, they were doing voodoo thing, and everybody had to go to that room and gather around, and then everybody could ask the voodoo god. In those days, I remember those two: a female one, Azili, which is really Mary, and Ogun. I guess him. I think that's Jesus. So I'm like, Ogun. I was only 12. Ogun. Ogun. Although, Haitians say Ogu, but the Africans say Ogun. It's the same garbage. So, Ogu, I heard you, oh God, and everything. You like Santa Claus. Whatever we ask, you give. So me being 12, I'm like, look, I'm in Haiti right now. I'm broke. All I'm asking you, give me the lottery numbers. At the age of 12. That's all I was asking. I'm not asking for nothing else. That's how you're going to prove to me if you are who they say you are. And then Ogun, who was Ogu Filai, he was inside somebody's head. We used to have a maid, in the house. Every time she didn't want to do work, she pretended some spirit jump on her, like they call it in voodoo. Some spirit mounted her like a horse, jump in her head, and then at that point she didn't have to finish doing her job no more. So we had to go in the room. And then now, okay, who got questions? So that was my question. So now she changed her voice to trying to change her voice to a male voice. Okay, my son, that's nothing for Ogu to do. So tonight when you go to sleep, I'm gonna give you the numbers. I'm like, really? That easy? Oh wow. So in my mind, I'm gonna be rich because this guy's supposed to be a god. I'm going to be rich. I can't wait to go to sleep. So I went to sleep. I'll make sure I went to sleep early that night. I went to sleep. And then I woke up trying to remember my dreams. I had no dreams. Then the next day when that so-called spirit supposedly jumped on her again, I was the first one in the room. I couldn't wait. Then I'm like, yo, Ogu, what's up, man? I got no numbers. You said you were going to come to me in my dream. You were going to give me the numbers. I don't know why you're not giving it to me right now. I have my pen and paper. That makes no sense at all. Why you got to... That's how you know that was lies. Since the age of 12, I could see that was a bunch of lies. That's just Christianity. I'm like, so you cannot give it to me like right now. I got to go to sleep. And then I went to sleep and you still didn't give it to me. So now I'm asking again, because this is very important to me. I want to know if I should worship you, if I should think you're really a God. If because I see a bunch of grown people thinking you're a God, but me, I'm 12. I'm like, look, I don't know, because on Sundays, my family would send me, my mother, whatever, they say go to church, so they'll tell me about Jesus, and then at times now I'm coming to another God now. So which one, who's the God? Is it Jesus or you? Because I want to know. I want to know what's going on. Because I want to make a decision. I want to know if it's Jesus, because Jesus definitely didn't give me the numbers, but you say you can give me the numbers, because in life right now, Jesus saying if you have money, go sell everything, give it to somebody else. That's all BS. But in Haiti, we had no money, so we had nothing to even go sell and give to the poor. So now, since I'm already poor, I'm already broke, maybe you can help. So I'll go again. Say, okay, go to sleep again. I already know that was BS. And I'm like, oh, wow. Again, you want me to go to sleep? And you're going to give me the numbers. And then what happened? I went to sleep. No numbers. Obviously. No numbers. So I stayed broke. And then at that point, I'm like, oh, this is all garbage. This is all garbage. And then days later, what happened to me? Like Haitians say, they got some special powder. Some special powder that they put on people to turn them to zombies. My whole body was, I got hit with that powder. I was supposed to die, but I didn't die. From my head to my toe, I had, I was like Job. Like Job had those big boils, those big things from my head to my toe. I still remember. I'm like, wow. So because you couldn't give me the number, now I'm sick now. So that's a true story what happened to me as a child in Haiti. So supposedly when they hit you with that powder, you're supposed to die, but I'm still alive. But from that time I knew, I'm like, well, so you didn't have any numbers. You got mad because you couldn't give the numbers. Now I got hit with some powder, some voodoo powder. That was crazy. Then at that point I'm like, oh, this is garbage. There's nothing somebody can tell me about voodoo. That's all garbage. It's a bunch of lies. The same way there's nothing somebody can tell me about Christianity. So with that thing, with the story with Jesus, when I asked those so-called, in those days, those Israelites, they call themselves Captain this, Captain, Captain 10,000, Captain 100,000, Captain. I'm like, what? We barely have like 50 people in here. How the hell we got Captain 10,000 here? Captain 50,000, Captain 100. You people are a bunch of idiots. Well, I didn't tell them that. That was in my head. I'm like, I understand you go read Moses. We actually call people Captain 10,000 because they weren't really Captain 10,000. They had 10,000 people to guide. Captain 50,000, they were actually Captain 50,000. But now, you have Negroes now. They follow this thing. They want to follow the old and the new at the same time. They bugged out because the old contradict the new contradict the old. I mean the Old Testament, the New Testament. That's what I mean by old. So I'm like, what? Captain 10,000. I remember when they made me Captain 10,000. And I'm like, I don't even have one person behind me. Why the hell would you give me but that was a way to control people. So now a lot of these groups, like especially IUIC, they don't follow the captain no more. Now finally they say, oh, we're gonna do bishops and deacons, bishops and deacons, and so they no more captains because they saw that the whole captain and was all BS. The bishop was a bunch of BS too, because guess what? These groups, they're gonna read a bishop should be the husband of one wife. But these guys in their school, they say, oh, we got multiple wives. So are you a bishop or deacon? You're supposed to have one wife. So listen, you cannot have your cake and eat it too, like they say. Once you eat the cake, it's done. Unless you have two cakes, then you're gonna have another one. Once you eat your cake, you're not gonna have it anymore. That's what that means. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. You gotta pick one. So you're either gonna pick to be with the New Testament and follow the New Testament and all the other things that you're following. You can eat pork. In the New Testament, you only supposed to have one wife. The New Testament, either you're gonna follow the new or the old. Don't pick both. So yes, I still remember that time. Those guys, they were like, okay, we'll come back in 3 days. And then 3 days came. What's the answer? Then they give some BS answer. I'm like, oh, that's even worse. It would have been better if you didn't say anything. It's the same question I would ask all of them, even today with that scripture. Like, okay, Jesus say, well, for the children of this world marry and are given to marriages, but those that shall be accounted, to be, in this world, they neither married nor are given to marriages. They are equal to angels. So you Israelites that want to read Isaiah 14 or any other scriptures that talk about the Israelites are going to be put back in the land, they're going to live here, you're playing yourselves. Because Jesus said, no, that's not happening. Isaiah 14, the Lord shall have mercy on Jacob and yet choose Israel and put them in their own lands. And the strangers shall be joined unto them, and they shall take them captive, whose captive they were. Listen, that's what Isaiah said. That was the mission back then. That's what, when Isaiah, when he was a prophet, that's the thing that was in his head, that was the Most High's plan. But now when the Jesus plan come, you're supposed to go, you're supposed to wait for Jesus, and he's coming like a thief in any night. You don't even know which night. And then those of you who's on the ground already, still alive, gonna catch up with Jesus in the sky, and then the dead also the one who already died gonna fly also, and they're gonna meet up in the air. And then after that, I guess Jesus is going to take them somewhere, some New Jerusalem and some other planet, somewhere else. Because Jesus did say, for in my mother's and my father's my father's what did he say? My father's mentioned there are many things, many places. For my father's house, there are many mentions. Wow, in one house you got a lot of mentions. That makes no sense at all. In my father's house, there are many mentions. Like, what? Listen, the house is already a mention. Inside a mention, there's a bunch of other mentions. Come on, man. Jesus was bugged out, drinking something from And then you'll have Israelites or Christians or whatever they call themselves say, well, that means we're gonna space travel. We're gonna go to this planet sometime, and then we're gonna have access to that other planet. We're gonna go, and then when they read Genesis, it's like, there is no planet. These are just little lights that's up there. That's just inside the ceiling, the firmament. So there are no planets for you to go to. So it cannot be in my father's mansion, in my father's house. There are many planets to go and live in. Again, you play yourself. So the same way I never got no answers for that question. It's the same way I never got no from those pimps that call themselves Israelites, from those hustlers, those wannabe prophets. They always say, "Oh, we're the prophet of the Lord." Prophet of who? And well, what makes you a prophet? Because we read in the prophecies. What prophet prophesied? I don't understand how you have people that's going to go to read the book of Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, because these dudes, they were prophets, and these dudes actually prophesy. They say what's going to happen in the future. And then you got these dudes that's going to read these books and say, well, I'm a prophet too. Because you read what the prophets wrote. No, that does not make you a prophet. That just makes you somebody who read what they wrote. That's it. So when I'm seeing these guys on the street or wherever, well, we're the prophet of the Lord. You're a what of what, Lord? Which Lord? You're a prophet of Jesus? For Jesus? Definitely you're not a prophet in the Tanach, in the Old Testament. You're definitely a prophet for Jesus, I guess. Because prophets in the New Testament, you don't really have to prophesy. All you gotta do is just read the prophecies. In that case, every single person in the world can be prophets and prophetesses, because everybody can read it. So for you guys too quick to say, well, we're the prophets of the Lord. Prophets of what, Lord? You're prophets of lies. So like I said, the same way I didn't get the numbers from Ogu, who was supposed to be a god, who was really Jesus, and then Azali is really Mary, which is also Isis, the Egyptian goddess. So Jesus is really Horus. He's the son of Osiris. But that's a different topic. Eventually, I'll do a topic on that. I mean, although a lot of people already know, at least for those who don't know, then I'm sure there's a lot of things I'm saying here. A lot of people already know them, but those of you who didn't know, at least you learned something.